afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Power Up Your Passion. So I hope you grab some friends, something to drink. It is so hot today. I mean, the weather is just, I don't know what's going on, but as you can see, it's not the best hair day, but that's okay because we're going to get through this anyway. So today I am excited to be bringing my guest, my first virtual guest for Power Up Your Passion. John, I want to welcome you to the show.
Alicia, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's great to meet you virtually.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
this really unusual time right now.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry that we can't have you in the studio, but we're just going to have to bring you in another time. So welcome to the show, everyone. This is John Neral. So I want to tell you a little bit about him before we have John go in and start talking about himself. So basically, John Neral Coaching LLC is his business. He helps professionals show up, hashtag show up, to make the impact that they want in their business. So John, what I would like to know is, first of all, how did you get onto this path? I want to know John Neral, the person. So tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Sure. I am a proud New Jerseyan. I grew up in Point Pleasant Beach, just a little bit up the road from you, and then eventually found my way to Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. But for me, I am beyond blessed at all of the different jobs that I held. My parents were understandably hard workers and instilled that work ethic in me. So, you know, my big break really after college, and that was between my undergrad at Loyola College in Maryland, which is now Loyola University, and then I did my graduate work in Monmouth, was I was a middle school mathematics teacher. I taught up in the Oakland Public Schools in Bergen County, and I was there for 14 years, and I loved teaching mathematics. You know, for me, Felicia, there was something about helping kids understand how numbers connected.
Right.
And helping them learn mathematics, especially at times when it got difficult for them. But after 14 years in the classroom and really enjoying the work that I was doing, I also felt like I was getting stale. That is a pivotal point in our careers where we kind of sit there and go, I'm just not doing my best work and I'm capable of doing a whole lot more.
Right.
And that really started this whole journey to get where I am at today. And I took a job working in the District of Columbia Public Schools as an instructional coach. I used to manage 21 instructional coaches across 13 middle schools. And I will tell you, there were days I came home so proud of the work that I was doing and what I saw. And there were other days I came home and I just wasn't sure if I could do it anymore. And a couple more career pivots and things, but this whole notion of coaching just played such a prominent role for me, both in my work, but also in my life. And I went to go work for the state superintendent. And then I found myself working at an educational nonprofit where I was doing training and staffing direction and a lot of organic coaching on the job. And for me, one of the best things about coaching is it allows people to give themselves some dedicated time to work on whatever it is they want to work on.
Right.
And that's one of the things where to get me to this point in the work I get to do with my clients today is so meaningful.
You know what? That's awesome that you say that. And first of all, I want to give you kudos for being a teacher. It's not an easy job. And I think that parents are realizing that it's not an easy job. They had 3 months of time out to spend with their children, so they know. So kudos for that. So I want to...
Well said.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. So I want to fast forward a little bit. You have a book, and you sent me your book. And I told you how much I enjoyed it. First of all, it was an easy read. Second of all, I like how you broke it up into two sections. The first section, you broke it up into telling us about you, getting to know you, and being more personable with you, which is what I like. And then you went into the second part, hashtag show up. And you had the hashtag show up throughout your whole book. Of course, it's part of your book. So what inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write the book really came out of the work that I had done over the last few years with my clients, because I kept hearing clients say to me, I want to show up more, or I need to show up differently, or I need to show up as myself. And it's funny, when we open ourselves up and we listen to, be it either what God's telling us, universe, however that higher power is for you, whoever that higher power is, this theme kept coming back over and over again. And so I started doing some work for myself around what is it meant for me to show up. And so what I had really uncovered was that there were things in my personal life as well as my professional life that how I showed up mattered. And that came from me coming out, and from me having to come out to my family, who love them dearly. But at the time when I came out, they had a really hard time with my coming out. And I chronicled that in the front part of the book about what it meant for all of us to show up at these moments, to not only heal, but truly move our relationship forward.
Right.
And when you lose parents, and I lost both of my parents relatively young in some respects. My dad passed away in my early 30s. My mom passed away in my early 40s. And I got some of the best advice ever, which was never say anything you want to regret, because if it's the last conversation you have with them,
right,
you want to make sure it's something you're not going to regret. And so amid all of the anger and the upset and the pain, I would always end every conversation with them and truly meaning it, saying, I love you. And I'm very grateful that those were the last words my parents heard from me before they passed.
Right.
And so how we show up in all of these situations that life gives us, whether it be personally or professionally, that's what really birthed this book. And I wanted to put a lens for people to really define what showing up might look like because of the 6 strategies that are in the book. It's like when you go to interview for a job and somebody says to you, you need to hire me because I'm a really good team player. And you sit there and you go, I don't know if you play on a team the same way that I do. So the book really drills it down to say, here are the 6 strategies for how we show up that I have seen in my life and the work I get to do with my clients. So when we talk about showing up, we have a common frame of reference.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was reading and I love it. And you were talking, you had mentioned about coming out. And I had said to you, I can imagine how hard that must have been coming from a Catholic background, at a time when our parents was growing up, that they're from the old school. So not really being able to understand or grasping that. I mean, they know that they love you, but it's just trying to understand what's going on with you. And I can totally relate. I have a lot of friends that are a part of the BTQ community. And speaking with them, I asked them what was one of the hardest things coming out that they had to do. And it was definitely talking to their parents or talking to a loved one that might have raised them, and just having them accept them for who they are and just wanting the best for them. So, I can't imagine that was hard. Reading, I felt what you were feeling, dealing with your mother, trying to help her cope with that. So, again, I think it's a well-written book. We'll show that towards the end of the interview as you're giving your information, because I think people should get it and read it. And not only to help with different transitions in their life, but also going into business, which is what I liked. You broke it down into quite a few different things. So now moving forward a little bit, you told us about being a teacher. We talked a little bit about your book. We talked about you a little bit as far as the path that you were on. And I forgot to ask, do you have any siblings?
I have two sisters. They're both
Okay.
older. So I am the baby of the family, but I do have two sisters, yes.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And you live now in Virginia with your husband, Richard, correct?
Right, yes. So
Okay.
we live in Vienna, Virginia, which is about 13 miles outside of the District of Columbia. And it's home. I've been down here for over 10 years now, so it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, yeah. I was born in Washington, D.C., so, I know. And, my family, I still have some family down there that I get a chance to go and visit. But now, is this the first book that you have written?
So it's the first book I've written under my coaching business, but in my educational career, I had written several books, both for Barron's. I wrote a state test prep book for the grade 7, at the time it was the New Jersey Ask assessment. And then I also wrote several in-house publications for Casio for their educational and calculator division.
Wonderful. Now, how long has it been since you left the teaching? Because I know you're doing full-time entrepreneurship now, correct?
Right. I left the classroom 10 years ago, but I often say that my educational career, formally in whatever capacity it was, ended 3 years ago when I left an educational nonprofit called American Institutes for Research that's based here in Washington, D.C. at the end of 2017.
Oh, okay, okay. So, wow. So there's quite a few things that led up to where you are now. And
Right.
I can hear the passion, I can see the passion, and I definitely read about the passion. So, how did you get started?
How did I get started with coaching?
Correct.
Right. So as a classroom teacher, instructional coaching was really emerging when I had left my classroom position in 2010. And I took that with me into my job with DC Public Schools. But what was really interesting, Felicia, was that when I went to go work for this educational nonprofit, I found myself doing a lot of coaching with staff. And corporate coaching, or career coaching, if you will, is dramatically different than instructional coaching.
Right.
And I wanted to learn more about it, but it was the educator in me that said, well, I need to get certified. I need to find a program. So I found IPEC, which is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and is based out of New Jersey, though it is a global coaching certification company. But it kind of was nice to bring me back to my New Jersey roots there for a moment.
Right.
And over the course of a year, I went through the program, which was about over 300 hours worth of certification time. And I had every single intention of bringing that coaching knowledge back into my organization, because I wanted to build an internal coaching program. And it was something that I saw not only as a particular need, but I knew it was something I could be really good at. And what I found was that after a couple of reorganizations, and the second reorganization where I didn't land where I had hoped, it really made me question, one, what was I doing there? Two, what was my path forward? And three, what did I really want to do anyway? So I firmly believe that having a really good relationship with your boss is important. And if you can't have a really good relationship with your boss, you need to find somebody else in the organization that you can lean on and have these kind of intentional conversations with.
Right.
And I walked down to her office one day, and I said to her, I need to ask you a question, because I'm really trying to consider out what my career path is here. I trust you enough. Can I ask you this question? And she's sitting there at her desk, and she's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I said, I'm trying to figure out my career path here. And the way I see it, it is at best horizontal. And while I'm not at risk of getting fired today, the fact of the matter is that I'm feeling undervalued and underutilized. And maybe it's a business decision that I don't fit into. But the way I see it is that I'm not going anywhere here. I'm not getting promoted. I'm not getting a bonus. I'm not going to get a raise. And like I said, well, I'm not at risk of getting fired. I'm doing good work. I just don't see a path forward for me.
Okay.
And then I looked at her and I said, how accurate am I? And at that moment, Felicia, she looked at me and she goes, they just don't get what you do. She said, it's not that I haven't tried. They have different priorities. And at that moment, the only thing I can say is that I had this like rush of clarity and gratitude. Because I appreciated the decisions that they were making, but that if I wasn't fully on board with that, and if I was being pulled to do something else, then I needed to stand in my truth. I needed to show up. And
Absolutely.
I needed to say, it's with a lot of gratitude, but I get to serve a lot more people outside than I can internally. And that's what I did about 6 weeks later. And I gracefully resigned from my position and launched my business practice full-time in January of 18.
Wonderful. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, got to pay some bills, and then we're going to come back and finish talking to John. Thank you.
I want to be a contender. I want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want.
I want a home. I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Felicia Shankin. This is Power Up Your Passion. Today we're having a conversation with John Neral, who has a consulting business, the John Neral Consulting. We've been talking to him about his book, about his business, about his brand. And before we went to commercial, he was saying that he was having a conversation with one of his supervisors. So in his book, he was having another conversation, which I really loved. And the conversation kind of went something like this. John sending emails and saying, you know, we're all busy. What happens if you don't get to my email and I need an answer kind of like right away? Well, you know, the supervisor was like, well, I'll get back to it. So John is like, well, what if you don't? What if something happens? So John kind of like pinpointed the supervisor down to the point where John said, listen, if I'm sending you emails, multiple emails, and you're not answering, can you at least, if I come down to your office, can you give me 5 minutes? And John had to do that. 2 weeks later, after the boss was like, okay, I'll answer your emails, John had to go down to the office and say, I need 5 minutes. And within that 5 minutes, he was able to get what he wanted. Now, I like that. I like that assertiveness, because sometimes, listen, we're all busy. I get it, but who's to say one person is more busier than another person? So I like that. What made you come up with that idea? I thought that was great, John.
Well, thank you. And so what I have learned throughout my career, and I mentioned this in the book as one of the strategies, is that when we set ground rules, we know how to play. And so setting ground rules between me and this particular boss was really about us ensuring that we were able to get the work done. She had asked me to come move into a role that was basically, it wasn't a chief of staff position, but it was very much like that, where I was helping her with the day-to-day operations of the team because she was just overwhelmed and wasn't able to take care of a 25, 26 member team.
Right.
And so in order to ensure the work that I was going to do with her, that we were going to do together, it was really important for me to set these ground rules because as questions came up, I needed to know how to get a hold of her. And so as you so wonderfully described, it was this back and forth between, well, if you don't answer the emails, then what? And there was this other part to it, which was about highlight my name and then put the red exclamation point. And I'm like, look, can we make an agreement that if I show up at your door and I say to you, I need you for 5 minutes, unless you're going to talk to the president of the company, you drop everything and give me 5 minutes because you've missed like 3 emails from me. And she went, oh yeah, that's not going to happen. And then like you mentioned 2 weeks later, I need you for 5 minutes. And she was like, what the heck? I was like, no, we need to talk about this. But the whole point is that when you set these ground rules, you know how to play.
Right.
And when you know how to play, you don't have to walk on eggshells because the ground rules have been set.
That's right.
And it takes away so much of the drama, and then we can just get down and get the work done.
I love it. I love it. So John, now let's get into your business. Tell us what you do actually, and tell us some of the things that your organization offers.
Yeah, so I work with people one-on-one, either executive and leadership coaching or in career transition coaching. So career transition coaching might be helping people either navigate an internal position or promotion. It might be helping them just simply to get prepped and positioned for a new job. Or it's even helping them pivot. I work with entrepreneurs. I work with executives that are really looking to build their leadership presence and their leadership brand to help them. And I also offer group coaching. So one of the things that I have coming up the second week of July is I'm launching a brand new group coaching program that is an 8-week program. We meet twice a week. It's going to take care of all of the things around your resume, your LinkedIn, your networking, your interviewing, but also really about how you show up and the value you bring to an organization. I also do public speaking. I love doing interviews like this. And again, I'd love for us to be in the studio together. It just didn't work out right now.
Right.
But public speaking, workshops and presentations and things of that nature, it's really an opportunity for me to push this message about how we get to show up in our career in a variety of different avenues and services.
Yes, you know what, and I think that's awesome, and I like how you broke that down, because it seems like you know your niche, and within that coaching, because we all know that coaching is such a broad, like it's so much in there, and you have life coaches, you have business coaches, you have different types of coaches, but it seems like you found your niche as far as with your organization zeroing in on what you felt that people needed the most, and that's how you were able to help them. So now with the consulting, if I was a new client of yours, take me from A to Z, how would you work with me? Where would we start?
Right. So I'm a firm believer, and I guess it's the mathematician in me, that we need to have some data to get started.
Okay.
So if we were to do some work one-on-one, we begin with a couple of assessments. I always have my clients take something called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment.
Okay.
It's an attitudinal assessment that gives people information about the attitudes or lenses they place on situations when life's going great, as well as when they're under stress. And a lot of people aren't familiar with the ELI, but it's gotten some really great reviews and press out there. It's been ranked as one of the top assessments executives should take by Forbes. So that's really wonderful there. And then the second assessment we would take would be the Gallup StrengthsFinder assessment. And here that assessment is going to narrow down what are considered to be your top 5 themes out of 34 different themes that Gallup has. And all of that is really designed to help us get clear about where is your fit, right? So when we get really clear about the value you bring to an organization, what your fit really looks like, where you can serve and how you can be of service to your organization, that becomes this sweet spot for you where you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, I get to go to work, because you are excited and purposeful and intentional about the work it is that you do. So our kind of work arc, if you will, would really be built around helping you figure out exactly where your professional value is, where you can make the greatest impact, and then also about where do you want to go, right? So creating a short-term and a long-term game plan, if you will, for what your career path actually looks like at that point.
That's wonderful. So then this way, it's a blueprint. So it's a blueprint the whole time. Wonderful. I like that. So now what we were just talking about kind of leads me into the next question. So John, what would you say is your superpower?
I love that question. Thank you for asking that.
You're welcome.
So my superpower is an ability to connect, relate, and communicate. So one of the best things about coaching, Felicia, is the relationships that you get to build, whether an organization brings me in or I'm working with somebody one-on-one, but really being able to create a connection and a bond and a relationship that is really structured around your professional or personal goals. That's where I have found my fit to be best utilized at this point.
Well, you know what I say, once a teacher, always a teacher.
Yeah.
So because you have that already in you, that willingness to teach, I can see it going over into your business. So I understand that completely, and I can hear the passion. So my next question, John, would be, what would John Neral say to the younger John Neral?
Yeah, if I had an opportunity to go back and talk to my younger self, it would be to just simply say to him to trust your gut, to trust in what you know is going to work out, that there's a lot of things that I have fretted and stressed and worried about that worrying never did anything for me. But it was really about knowing what was in my gut to move forward. And when I say that, I don't mean, Felicia, like, oh, I had all the answers. It was that I knew who to go to.
Right.
I knew who to ask. I knew who to pull in and partner with and learn from and glean from. And just being able to trust your gut that everything is just all going to work out. I turned 50 last year, and it was like a completely different perspective on things.
Absolutely.
I still like to, being a middle school teacher, sometimes you don't always lose that middle school mentality some ways.
Right.
Because when you're a middle school teacher, you get to connect and relate, as you mentioned, very, very differently than an elementary or a high school teacher would. But just to trust your gut and know that everything is just going to work out would be, I think, the best piece of advice I could give my younger self.
Wonderful. So we're going to be wrapping up. So before we wrap up, I want you to let everyone know about your book. And then I want you to let everyone know how they can get in contact with you.
Great. Well, thank you. So here's the book.
Yes.
It is called Show Up: 6 Strategies to Lead a More Energetic and Impactful Career. It is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, so Kindle, paperback. And if you also want to get a signed copy of the book, please email me directly, and I will be more than happy to tell you how that'll work. And you can email me at John, John, at johnneral.com. The easiest way for people to get in touch with me is certainly through my website at johnneral.com, but also connect with me on social. So connect with me, be it on LinkedIn or Instagram. I also have a business page on Facebook at John Neral Coaching. And being connected on social, especially right now during this time, is a great way for us to stay connected and to just to simply learn more about how we can help each other, and also what showing up really may look like for you in your life at this stage.
Wonderful. Well, John, that half an hour goes by so fast. I wish we had more time to talk, but again, we're going to have you in the studio, and who knows, by that time you might write another book. Who knows? Who knows?
Very, very possibly, yes.
Yes, but thank you. And like I said, you were our first virtual guest on Power Up Your Passion. I appreciate you. Thank you. I enjoyed you today, and thank you for being my guest. So everyone, thank you for joining us today on Power Up Your Passion. I am Felicia Shankin, your host. We'll see you next week on Tuesday at noon. Have a great day, everybody. Bye. Bye, John.